Hey, my name's Bob, and this is my brother Bryce. You can't see him
Yep.
because we're not that cool yet.
And we're horrifically scarred.
Horrifically. The fires. That we are resurrecting the Brainless Thoughts channel, but we're going to be focusing on our Dungeons and Dragons because we enjoyed that the most.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's a big hobby for all of us anyways. We're doing it every week, so
we've done it every week forever. I can't think of a time that we weren't doing
I
it.
mean there's always times where, there has to be a hiatus, but yeah, it's a continuing hobby.
Right. I mean, I
Part of
feel
our
bad that
lifestyle, really.
yeah, I feel bad that the Silver Blades campaign died out, but life happens sometimes. We're going to do our best to resurrect that. We're going to go so that we can handle it. We're going to go audio only for now, um, and just kind of let you out there, if you're interested, kind of go along for the ride and listen to our story and our players. And it's also partly for us
Yeah.
to
I
kind of have a record.
I loved watching that Silver Blades game again. I did that a couple days ago. And I mean, of
Right.
course I'm biased. Like,
Yeah. Well, who's not?
I had fun playing the game, so
Right. But yeah, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna start it back up again, and there'll probably see some stuff between me and you just talking about D&D. Because a little bit of background. So I'm nearly 40, and I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was in like 6th grade. Old school. Grew up on second ed. Played third ed. Played Rifts. Played Mutants. I mean, like everything. If you can. I remember being so young that we would create our own D&D about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
damn.
So super old school.
Should just play GURPS.
GURPS. We still play second ed.
Right, we switch between second and third, but
Yeah. And this is a little bit of a maybe moving on, but this is like I know there's fifth ed. I know there's I won't even say the other ed. I know that there's other eds of D&D out there,
there are some
but
real fans of fourth edition out there. I just said it, but
that's cool.
that's cool. Good for them.
But honestly, like there's Vampire the Masquerade. There's so many different types of games. The point is playing.
Yeah,
And so we just enjoy playing, and we haven't changed. I know it sounds like we hate, but we haven't changed. It's just because we like own all the books. I mean, between you and me, you mostly, we own like frickin' every second-hand book ever made,
I
or at
probably
least.
own 50% of TSR's second at catalog.
Well, when I look at that, I think 90%, but I'm obviously terrible
They
at math. So
they put out so much stuff. It's insane.
right,
That's
and
part of the
then on
reason we
top of
got in the
that,
business.
yeah, and then people who listen to our game, they're gonna recognize that this isn't regular second ed. It is
It's extremely
the
homebrewed. I mean,
it is the most bastardized mutant offspring hybrid monster chimera
yeah,
of D&D.
especially when we play second ed. Third ed we probably follow the rules a little bit better, but
Mm-hmm.
second ed, I mean, it's pretty unrecognizable.
All
You
right.
still
So
use like, THAC0 and stuff, but
should anybody listen to this, just know that when you hear the game, you're going to be like, "Oh, I'm, my age." And you're like, "That's not how second ed works." And yeah, we know that.
yeah,
We play this kind of game where we get to a point, and I remember this. I remember playing D&D and being like, "Why do crossbows do so little
yeah.
damage?"
Why are crossbows just garbage?
And then I'm like, "But crossbows in real life were banned by the church for being too deadly." Because they
Yeah,
could pierce armor. So for instance, we stepped up the damage dice on every crossbow to the one up next to it, or the one above it.
yeah, and that's some of the simpler
Yeah.
home rules.
So take that homebrew, times it by 1,000, and that's what we play.
I think
Right.
there's a lot of people out there like that too.
Of course. And I would say this to anyone out there who's just starting to play D&D or DMing: don't be afraid of the homebrew. Do it.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you have a newer group, I would definitely talk to them about it.
Mm-hmm.
But homebrewing the
Yeah.
game is probably the best way to actually get enjoyment out of it, making
Yeah.
it your own. Because if you try and follow the rules as is, every edition, even the simpler ones, you're just gonna waste a lot of time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the best thing that always stuck with me is like I don't know, it's like the first or second page of the DMG in the second edition, and it says like, this is just kind of an idea. Do with it what you will.
Right.
Because in my opinion, and here's where I'm going to get into opinions. My opinion, D&D is about storytelling. It's not about the numbers, and it's not about. I mean, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you want to tell a narrative that makes people enjoy the game, you change stuff, and that's fine.
Yeah, you shouldn't let the rules get in the way of the narrative for sure.
No, or the fun.
Okay.
You know, it's supposed to be fun.
Fun. It's supposed to be fun for the DM, right?
No, it's supposed to be fun for
Kill the
everyone.
players. That's a problem I have DMing. So I might be a little too violent, but
Well, that's why, and it's something we should mention now, is that we are going to do this thing. We have a larger group of players, not too large. I mean, in a perfect world, I guess actually we have a small group. Maybe
yeah,
I'm wrong about that.
Our group's it's like now we have what, 6 players? That's a medium-sized group.
Right, and 2 NPCs that are going to be in the party.
Some people play with like 12, 20 players, which
Ugh,
is
I don't know how they do
unimaginable.
it.
Yeah.
I give them props because when I run a game, I mean, you and I run games differently.
Yeah.
Um,
Similar, but overall differently.
Right, right. But what we're going to do is you and I are going to be running this game together.
Yeah, co-DM.
Because the backstory behind that is that Bryce was running a game, and I'm running a game, and we were alternating weeks, and those games were different parties, the same players, but a storyline that ran congruent. If I'm using that word right, yeah.
I believe so.
Like they ran parallel. The storylines like wove in together and back and forth. And so we're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they met? And then we just run it together because you're like a human calculator, and you know can
I
memorize all
resent
this.
that accusation.
Well, I stick to it. You're a human calculator, and I barely open monster manuals for the monsters. So, but I love telling a narrative story. I like the drama. I like to get into characters, their backstories, and all the betrayal. And you like the politics, which I like too. Like we like the same stuff. We just do it differently.
Yeah.
So putting it together, like you'll help me make my combats more stable and challenging, and I'm hoping to keep the storyline really dramatic and having the players be invested. And I'll say that we're pretty lucky. We have a very invested group.
Yeah, and at this point they're all really experienced, and I mean, in every group you're gonna have, audience members, and then you have actors. We definitely have that
Right.
too. But even our
Yeah.
audience members involve themselves, in the game. So,
Right.
and are not afraid to roleplay at least a little bit when confronted with situations in the game. So,
And they all can be prompted.
right.
So I'm sitting around the table and I'm giving everyone's doing their stuff, and I look at one player and I'm like, oh, they're not really involved. I'm like, hey, what are you doing?
We don't have a situation where the DM tries to talk to a player with an NPC and the player just looks at you like, what are you doing?
Right.
'Cause I know that can happen. So.
Yeah, that took a lot of practice though. Like that took. So I mean, a D&D game is only as successful as its players.
Yeah.
I've ran games that were, I think, awesome, but they failed because I failed to make them feel important or part of the story or invested. And sometimes that just happens. But yeah, super stoked that we're going to be starting this. And we're going to be putting up, like I said, just so people can kind of watch and enjoy it too, because we want to share the stories. And the way we play may be weird for some people, but don't worry about that. If it ever got to the point where people are actually responding, yeah, I don't need to hear that. I know that spell doesn't work that way. We know that, but it works for us, and that's what D&D should be about.
It depends on the group, of course, but in a way, it's basically like performance art, right? Like impromptu acting.
Yeah,
so it's definitely
absolutely.
a skill to be built. You don't have to play it that way, but I think that is the majority of our players. So.
Yeah, I think that and once again, I'm not judging how people play D&D. I wish that D&D was everywhere. I wish that every school had D&D clubs. I love D&D. I made some lame, cringy video, I think like a year and a half ago about that. But I think that we got pretty lucky because we don't have people who are like, oh, I don't care about what's happening. Where's my +5 axe?
Yeah, I mean, unless
You
that's
know,
what their character actually cares about.
right? But they get involved, and it's pretty awesome because we to this day, you and I can sit around and we can start a story, and everyone's like, oh, I remember that, and it's just like the stories and you know the emotions tied into the characters. You know, like it's like when you watch a good movie, but you're even more invested because you are the character in the movie.
Right.
You know, so and some people that's too serious. And that's fine. Once again, that's why I think D&D is the greatest game that has ever been made. Like all praise Gary Gygax, and I know there's people before him too, but
Yeah, it's D&D
he
has
is the center.
a weird history. I mean, you could definitely trace it back to Gary Gygax and the people around him.
And until recently, like it had a really bad rap. I mean, I grew up when it was the
Well, that was just
Satanic Panic.
moral
You know,
outrage.
yeah, I remember Mom actually getting really mad at me because I played Dungeons and Dragons. Me trying to explain to her, Mom, we play the good guys. Like we are fighting for the most part. That's how we played. We are fighting the monsters and the demons. Like, how is this different than me reading comic books or playing a video game? You know, but
Right.
and it that's not to bash her. That's just like that was how it was seen. So important part of this is that, unfortunately, and that's our fault, is the people who may look into this and enjoy it, they're going to jump into a story that if it's a trilogy, we're on book 2. So we've already played a lot of this game.
I
And
think
I'll try to.
I think in total we're probably at like session 48, 50, so around there.
Yeah, it's a lot of sessions.
I mean, there are
So
games out there that are hundreds of sessions.
right.
And I know that you in the past have played games that have gone on for years, so it's definitely something we're
Oh man.
able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I'm saying is the people who jump in to like watch us, if they do, you know, and if you did, you're awesome and I love you. They're gonna like kind of jump in like, you know, you're watching the second movie. You're playing Mass Effect 2 without playing 1. You're like, okay, I can kind of get this. What's the backstory?
Right. It's gonna be fairly confusing.
Right. So I'll kind of lay it out in a very simplistic form because that's, you know, how I talk. Bryce will be able to jump in and give us a little more detail, but the game centers around a guild, more like a guild slash mercenary company. Um, it is set in Forgotten Realms. You know, it's Forgotten Realms. Time of Troubles has happened.
It is worth noting that our Forgotten Realms basically starts at the time of troubles, and then we did not have the spell plague.
Yeah, yeah.
People who know
so that's important.
That.
Yep. So look that up. You can find YouTube videos about the spell plague and the time of troubles. So there's this group called Chimera, and they're like a mercenary company, and they were in Waterdeep, and this company gets completely annihilated by the Harpers. And anyone who knows Dungeons and Dragons probably knows the name of the Harpers. The Harpers are like a neutral band of adventurers, heroes, and people. I use the word hero loosely because Harpers are neutral, so you can have them be whatever. But they basically go through Waterdeep and they start like just killing off all these guilds, and the Chimera is one of them. Well, there's a young adventurer named Cadus, and his go ahead.
It is worth noting that, I mean, that is certainly atypical of the Harpers, and we realize that that's part of the story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Harpers generally don't go around committing like mass slaughter.
Actually, the kind of stuff they're usually trying to stop. So.
Yeah, and that's why it stands out so much. So Cadus survives because him and his team, his part of the gauntlet, is not there when the slaughter happens. And they return to find that Chimera is a wanted guild. The Harpers are trying to chase down all the remnants of it, so they flee. Cadus, who's kind of like our main character, and was also a character played by Bryce. Yeah. He was your character. Still is your character.
Probably one of my favorite characters ever played.
Right. Cadus, of course, goes on the revenge cycle.
Yeah, that was one of the first 20 sessions. He was committed to trying to find a way to wage war with the Harpers. So.
Right. So he leaves and he starts a new guild, a new mercenary company called the Gauntlet. And also, we have to say that when the original Gauntlet, when the Chimera was annihilated, his uncle, who was like his father, was also killed alongside of them.
Right.
So he's also got the I lost a parent arc going on. So he makes this group called the Gauntlet, and the Gauntlet's strange for a mercenary company. So you got to imagine this fantasy world. It's Forgotten Realms, high fantasy, wars everywhere. The Gauntlet is a group that will take pretty much anyone as long as you're like motivated, you have self-determination, and you want to fight for what's right. Now, of course, what's right is relative, but what's right for the Gauntlet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I feel like this is how it goes. We made this. The Gauntlet fights for the little guy. The Gauntlet fights for a strong, idealistic focus on like doing what's best for the people.
Yeah, I mean,
The Gauntlet will go into a town, and if that town has a really craptastic ruler, the Gauntlet is not afraid to be like, pack your shit and get out.
yeah, they're
Like
definitely a very, I guess, I don't know, is dogmatic the right word?
they are very dogmatic.
Yeah, they essentially believe in, like, personal freedom, but also personal responsibility.
Right.
And that everyone should
Yeah.
not only try and be the best they can be, but, try and create a society where everyone can fully actualize themselves, fully realize
Right.
themselves.
Right.
Really, what's the word for it? Optimistic, actually.
Yeah, almost to a absurd level.
Yeah, the
That's
Gauntlet,
where like
for most part, didn't really have many friends.
no.
So,
Well, when you go around and you're willing to go into a small town and solve their werewolf problem and you refuse to take payment,
right.
that puts other mercenary companies at a loss. They're like, you can't keep doing that.
Yeah, the Gauntlet
Like
doesn't do anything for pay.
no. But any treasure or things they find along the way they keep.
Right.
And that's how they funded themselves. So anyways, the Gauntlet keeps picking people up that they employ half orcs and tieflings if they need to. Like it doesn't matter. Like Cadus and his team don't care. These are the kind of heroes that will talk to monsters. Like, oh, the troll's not attacking us. Let's have a discussion. If we have to kill the troll, we kill the troll. But until then, there's no reason. Yeah. So the Gauntlet begins to grow in power. The Gauntlet begins to slightly change the political landscape. Because as they go around, like for instance, they go to the town of Restenford, which is an important town in this game. And the town's under siege. It's actually cursed. It's like locked inside this like invisibility shield where nobody knows it's there. The people can't leave, and it's cursed. And there's this old like beaten down castle, these ruins up on a hill, and there an evil power. I'm glossing over this a lot, but an evil power controls the people, and they free the town. They free the town. They pick up a few newer adventurers for the Gauntlet, including one Montague Borhavard, which if you watch this or listen to us, you're going to learn a lot about Montague Borhavard. And when they save Restenford, they go, hey, why don't we build a base here? We saved your people. Can we build a base here? And the mayor's like, of course. You say, my people have been freed from a curse. Like, how can I say no?
Yeah, that's a continuing trend of the Gauntlet, is they're very enterprising, and they really, to a certain extent, are nation builders. I mean,
yeah.
As the game goes on, that basically continued to happen.
Right. So the Gauntlet keeps picking up adventurers. They keep building their numbers. They start forming this kind of like military like way they handle stuff, like commanders and lieutenants and all that kind of stuff, and just growing and growing and growing and taking on more dangerous missions until eventually they even like befriend a good aligned green dragon when they save her baby from poachers who steal her egg.
And we realize the green dragons are usually evil, but there are exceptions to every rule. That's part of the Gauntlet's whole message anyways,
So they're building their ranks, they're getting new people to join them, and then the big quest comes along. This is the really important part. You and I run a module that's about saving the goddess Joaquin.
Right, for duty and deity, if anyone's interested.
It's a good module. It's a great module.
Actually, what's funny is we had fun. I looked up online just because I was curious, and everyone hated it.
Oh, well, I don't know.
So,
but then again,
that just goes to show, personal taste and all that.
Right, and then again, the way we run modules is I look at the module and I go, "Oh, cool. Now I'm going to do with what I want."
Yeah, we just care. We don't run them 100. We don't run them as written. I don't think you should ever do that.
No.
You take the ideas from it and form it to your needs.
Right. So the characters not only save Joaquin, but they kind of do a really good job at it.
Yeah, we kick
And
ass.
yeah, so Joaquin comes back to the realms, which she's a goddess of merchants and wealth.
Like luck and stuff like that.
Yeah. So she blesses the gauntlet. She basically sees them as like her not her saviors because she's a goddess. She wouldn't do that, but she sees them like these people saved me. Like I gotta
champions.
Yeah, her champions. Well, she's also like one of the patron deities of oh, the name escapes me for a moment of right?
Yeah, she's the main god of
So now gets their goddess back, which means all their priests get their power back, and the gauntlet lets people know when they do stuff. The gauntlet's like, yeah, we did that, and Joaquin's like, yes, they did. Yeah. So all of a sudden, the gauntlet go from like an up and coming to a holy crap, they saved a goddess. These people are super cool. Well, when you get powerful, you make enemies.
Always.
So, as it stands right now, people have decided the gauntlet need to get out of the way. They're gaining power too fast. They're getting into politics. So far, they've been, not, I wouldn't say unstoppable, but they've really caused rifts and things.
We haven't stumbled on anything yet. The
No.
gauntlet's ascent has been pretty, clear cut.
Yeah. You've had some heroes die and some stuff happen, but
that's part of
but in general, they've had a meteoric rise. Their explosion into the realms. So much so that other companies, like for instance, you'll hear about a company called the Red Dogs. The Red Dogs like joined them. They're like, you guys are so good at this. Why don't we just team up? And became members of the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So
and there's even some different philosophies within the Gauntlet, but it's the overriding principle of
right.
I guess you could just say like liberty for people, right? Like
right. Yep.
What's the most neutral way of saying it? Something like
that. The protection and freedom and rights of the individual to like pursue what makes them live.
Right.
Like what makes them alive. It's very idealistic.
Yeah.
And
because I can't say that I know that Diedrich doesn't believe in that. I'm sure he does. But it seems like his main reason for adventuring was basically to become famous and rich and help people.
Yeah. So to all you out there who are listening, Diedrich Boll is the leader of the Red Dogs. So we have over all these games, we have like 25 to 30 NPCs that we've created full backstories for, and they all have different personalities, and they all tie into it some way. And Diedrich Boll has joined the Gauntlet, but is he the same as Cadus? No. Diedrich Boll goes around, walks into a town and says, I'm from the Gauntlet, I'm here to save you. My name is Diedrich Boll, I'm pretty cool, flips his hair and gives the girls the smolder. So,
Cadus wouldn't with all that shit, he would just go and fix the problem and then
leave.
Get on to something else.
Right.
Because Cadus is probably schizophrenic, so...
He's got good people around him. He's got good people around him.
Well, if it wasn't for his, that's one of the things we love a lot is character flaws. Even though Cadus is a really smart and driven person, if it wasn't for the people around him, he probably would have done something really stupid and died. So.
Right. Yeah, he's surrounded by good people. So where the game's starting is that the Gauntlet has actually been attacked by mercenaries from rival political families who want the Gauntlet out of the picture. Because the Gauntlet messes things up. The Gauntlet involves himself in people's politics. They will do things...
Yeah, they basically said that they're committed to just dismantling the status quo. Is their outright message, so...
Yeah. Yeah, like, if you rule with an authoritarian fist and, like, overtax your people and, like, do back deals with the Shadow Thieves and all that stuff, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
So they kind of declared war in a... and so they've been attacked. And... This is the first...
On 2 fronts they've been attacked.
On 2 fronts, yeah. So where our game is going to start is with Cadus and another NPC that you'll all learn about named Warmaster Phil, gathering together all the Gauntlet members from across the realms and basically saying, we're going to handle this war. And on top of that, and we haven't even finished yet, so on top of that, at the same time, ancient dead gods have begun to resurrect all across Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, like simultaneously.
Yeah. And the gauntlet keeps running across these cults and different stuff going on, and there's too many of them. I think there's always some sort of dark cult trying to resurrect a god. That's common.
Right, but
This is all happening all of them at once.
Yeah.
And so the gauntlets actually like fought a couple proxies that were trying to resurrect, like for instance, Oriel, the goddess of like frost and ice.
Yeah, they have not succeeded in stopping one of these gods, but they've definitely made some impact, and they've been witness to it, which, you know,
right.
Information in that.
So at the same time, the gauntlet's fighting a war on 2 fronts, multiple fronts, 3 fronts. They've also still got these like ancient dead gods resurrecting. So the game's going to start is basically with them all gathering together, so that they can develop a plan moving forward and how to tackle these situations at the same time. So in this, I will do the majority of the storytelling and things like that. I love to get into character, and I'm not the best with all the different voices because I'm not a actor of any kind. I'm just a nerd who's played a lot of D&D, right. But I do my best.
D&D definitely gives you some acting skills.
Right. So. And Bryce is going to be my maps and initiative and rules and all this stuff, and help me because he also plays characters who are now NPCs.
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely.
I don't think
there's some really cool characters.
Any NPCs in the game though, but I'm sure I will be running some like tertiary NPCs and stuff.
Yeah, like when people talk to Cadus, he's your character, so you know I'm not gonna run Cadus, but I like all the characters, even our NPCs. They're all, I just think they're fantastic, and I am biased, but you know what? So what? I think they're awesome.
Yeah. They are.
I was just out talking to one of our players, Felicia, and she was super excited. She can't wait for the NPC interaction. I think that's what's so cool.
I don't think she realizes yet that her character and her character's husband are going to be split up, does she?
Nope, she doesn't.
Well,
I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There's a lot of like natural relationships that blossom throughout these games too.
Yeah, I mean, just a short story for that, you know. And I wish we had recorded that too. We had 2 characters, an NPC who's a bugbear. He's also a cleric of the Red Lady, who's the goddess of tactics. It's a long story. He didn't start out as bugbear.
No.
He fell into a well of creation, and it turned him into a bugbear.
No, we blew up the well of creation.
Okay, good point. Yes, we blew it up.
Same
they
difference.
blew it up. Same difference. It went boom.
Yeah.
And she's a wizardess, whatever.
Yeah.
And they slowly fell in love over the journey, and they end up getting married on a roadside ceremony. As our other character's priest, you know, like gave them the ceremony, and
we summoned a bunch of kobolds to be the audience, and
yeah, that was awesome.
The druid turned into a single dove.
That's so cool. It sounds ridiculous, but I don't want people to think that our games are like always just like a crazy clown car, because they're not.
No.
But
no,
those that you.
It's the reprieve, right? Like the.
Yeah, you gotta have those moments of levity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And adventurers with the terrible lives they lead. You know, it makes sense that their version of like a wedding would be really bizarre.
Right, exactly. When you have a guy like Fledge, who you all who learn who these people are, Fledge, who is a druid of insects who can turn into a giant praying mantis, nothing's ever normal.
It's actually he turned into a giant spider and we almost all attacked him. It was bad.
like nothing's gonna be normal.
No. He's a good guy though.
So he is a good guy. He's like, yeah. He also was affected by the Well of Creation, and now he has a voice that narrates in his head what's going to happen next, giving him a bonus to wisdom.
That's something with I don't even want to get into it now, and actually I wanted to talk about we need to do some work to it, but magic surges and the way wild magic works in our game, and beyond that, magic items. I've never heard or seen a game that treats it the same way we do, so that might be worth talking about at some point.
Sure. Yeah, I'm down. That's one thing you got to do as a DM. You always got to be willing to change things for the better. You can't be stuck in your ways. You can't go, well, we've always done it this way, so we're always going to do it this way. I'll sit at the table and I'll have a player be like, you know, we're doing it this way, but doesn't it make more sense? And I'm like, yeah, it does. It does make more sense.
Second, it's actually basically made to be played that way, so
right.
I really like that aspect of it.
Right, and I'll say right now, I know second it can be confusing. Integers, upside down numbers, you know, sacrificing your firstborn. It's difficult, but you know, you get through it.
Thaco
you make
the hate for Thaco I will never understand. That or gnomes. The hate for gnomes I will never understand. whatever people want to play with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all good. The party is made up of. I'm going to give a short description of these characters so you can get a feel for them. So if you find this 2 years down the road and you're watching, you're like, I don't understand this. You can come to this spot right here, and you can figure it out. So the team that we will be playing is made up of. I'll start with NPCs first. So I will be running 2 NPCs. The first NPC, her name is Lucinda Erst, and she is a half.
Not to interrupt, really quick. But the way we run NPCs would be considered DM PCs.
Oh, my bad.
So people know, our NPCs are basically player characters.
Yeah. Okay.
The DM is always going to play them realistically, right? We're not going to use our knowledge. So I just want to say that because a lot of games, their NPCs don't really say anything, or they're like completely side characters. Whereas in our games, NPCs are main characters. So
that's gross. So how are you gonna get invested into a character if it's just like a robot? Anyways.
Well, there's ups and downs, but yeah.
Yeah, I get you. So Lucinda Erst is actually one of the original characters hired by the Gauntlet back in the day when they were just one small group. She is now one of the higher ups in the Gauntlet. She lost her right arm to a lich. So she is a athletically built half orc. She's a fighter thief. She started off very naive and almost childlike, and now she's grown much more mature after all the PTSD and horrible things she's gone through, like fighting liches and losing her arm. She's a stalwart believer in the belief system of the Gauntlet, and I want to say throughout the playing the game, probably has a secret crush on Cadis.
It's actually a returned crush. It's just that Cadis is never gonna.
Yeah.
He's too committed to dying heroically to ever get involved with it.
So here's this beautiful half-orc woman, athletically built, kind and compassionate, and very stalwart in her belief systems, and she just doesn't know what to do with this love for Cadis, who will never return it. So she is going to be de facto party leader because she is the highest ranking member who will be put in this party, and that's the way the Gauntlet works, and Cadis trusts her.
Yeah, she's very intelligent, she's reliable.
Yeah, brave.
And basically just all around. We've actually left her in charge of the Gauntlet a couple times. She's always done well, so.
Yeah. She's she's just very level-headed, And for thieving, she's not your pickpockety thief. She works with locks and finding and removing traps. Like she specializes in that.
All her type,
yeah. She doesn't she's a thief who doesn't believe in stealing from people.
I've never seen her steal anything.
No, she doesn't. But she lost too many friends back in the day to traps and dungeons and stuff like that, so she started learning how to do that. Wields a broadsword, bow, competent fighter. And like I said, she has a clockwork right arm because she had a cursed arm from a lich. So the second one is Cormac Darkdraft, which is actually one of my old players, or one of my characters I played in your game.
Yeah.
He led another team. He didn't get demoted. He's actually being promoted into this specialist team, and we'll get into that in a minute. He is a gray orc, so he's got gray mottled skin. Wears an Eastern style, black top knot. He's a mountain. He is a literal mountain. He is.
Yeah, you have a 19 strength or 1800?
19.
19.
Yeah, he's 7'4", 520 pounds. He wields dual flails, and he is friendly as a giant cuddly stuffed bear.
He's actually real nice.
Yeah,
when he gets mad, it's terrifying, but he's generally a really nice guy.
Right. So his last name Darkdraft is very important in our world because it's the name of a very powerful noble family that is one of the first noble families to attach themselves to the Gauntlet.
Right.
They're the Gauntlet's cool. We'll help you, supply you. We're going to do everything we can with our what little wealth, because they're not a super powerful noble family. But he's an adopted child into the Darkdrafts.
Yeah, obviously.
He's a Myrmidon. He served on a ship for years fighting pirates out at sea. He's a little naive. He doesn't do well with women.
No, he does not.
He doesn't know what to do about them. He wants to court them, in the tales of old, and write really poor poetry about them, about the size of their thighs and stuff.
Yeah, all the females in that party were always messing with Cormac. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. because you have this mountain of a man get like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
And he just like completely freezes up.
Yeah, but in battle he's brave. He wears a cloak of heroism. He's willing to charge a god because he did that.
He did that,
knowing that he's gonna die.
Slapped around, but
yeah, but he's willing to do it because he's all about that. If I'm gonna die, it's gonna be an honorable death in the name of the gauntlet.
Yeah, very much fits the gauntlet ideals. So
right.
Which, to be fair, all the Dark Draft brothers do.
Yeah. There's 3 of them. So his other brother, if people have been listening to this, is Edgar Darkdraft, the Bugbear, who's a human who got turned into a bugbear. You gotta love Worlds of Magic. So those are the 2 DM characters. They're gonna be ran. Our next character.
Edgar's not part of this party. That was just
no,
kind of a tangent. We got too many characters to talk about in this video, so.
Oh man, no, we have like 30, but I want to get the party taken care of.
Yeah.
So then you have. Let's talk about Ash. So Ash is the last. Ash is the last half orc, and he's a priest of the god of strength. He's a priest of the. He's a priest of the barbarian god of strength. Or not the barbarian, but I mean barbarian not in the class way, but barbarian in the societal structural way. Like he worships a tribal god of strength.
Uthgar, that's what it was.
Yeah, there you go, Uthgar. Quiet, reserved for half orc. And he's a powerful priest. The guy is a literal like walking tomahawk missile when it comes to his magical bow, because he's just got this composite bow and he's a big old half orc.
Oh, he has 18 00 strength, I believe.
Yeah.
And we never did the stat boost for him, so we'll have to see.
Right. So Ash he's a reserve character, but he's cool because he's always had this thing for Lucinda.
Right.
All throughout the storyline, he always has. But she has eyes for Cadis, and so she sees him as like a brother. And I think that kind of kills him inside.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Right. On the other side, he's a half orc who his biggest dream of being a part of the Gauntlet is he's trying to build an orphanage, and he wants to build like an orphanage that's also a temple to the god of strength. I don't know if his plan is to like have a whole bunch of like strong buff children or what.
I'm not sure about that.
but he wants to. But he's one of the original characters. He was with Cadis like back in the day.
Yeah, he's pretty quiet, soft-spoken dude. He's probably about the size of Cormac, maybe a tiny bit smaller.
Oh, they're a meat party. I mean, this party is going to be like a wall of meat.
Yeah, but he's really reliable, very powerful for sure.
Right. Yeah, always willing to like run into the middle battle to heal one person. Like he's not gonna let anybody die if he can help it. So the next one is Fledge. Fledge is played. Oh, and by the way, Ash is played by my uncle Eric.
Right.
We'll talk about Fledge. Fledge is played by my brother Nick. Fledge is an insect druid. There's a name for it, but he specializes in insect druidic magic. So he's summoning giant spiders, turning into spiders. He like throws walls of insects at people. It's pretty terrifying. As
he's also a weeb.
He is a he's a weeb.
Yeah, in-game basically. He's a big fan of all the famous adventures, and he knows all the tales of Elementster and all that stuff.
Yep, and the stat. Yeah. Oh no, he would totally be that guy that collects manga.
Yeah, definitely.
But being that he's a druid of insects, he's actually like clean cut, well taken care of. It's just while he's sitting there, he's got like millipedes crawling through his hair.
Yeah.
And like spiders like slowly coming out of his ears. But yeah, he's a great character. I think Nick does a really good job of playing him, and how he's just like he'll pop in the middle and be like, "Oh, did you know that on this day the elements blah blah?" And everyone's like, "Okay, Fledge, we don't care. That's great." But he wants to start his own druidic circle. Next is Gabby. This character is played by my wife, Rexy. Gabby is an archer. Gabby is the most archery archer that ever archered. She's basically a
machine gun.
Yeah, she's a machine gun. She has the archer kit because the archer kit says only elves can do it. And we're like, nah, that's dumb. So she's a human archer. She's actually extraplanar. she's human, but her dad came from a different world, and she's very young and naive. I think she's only like 17 or something.
Well, she was in her early 20s, but then that same wild surge
That's right.
that turned her
Yeah.
into a bugbear, it reduced her age by, can't remember, but
Right.
a decent amount.
Yeah. But yeah, she's kind of like a young prankster and like likes to play jokes and gets really embarrassed by the adult talk and just wants to be the best adventurer, make her father proud, and do the best that she can. She's pretty she's what's it looking for? She got a good heart.
Yeah.
She's just a good person. She's just a really good person. Do you want to talk about Tora?
Tora. Um, Tora's very dangerous.
I like how you start with that.
I don't know, I just have this pet peeve. Not that she's not a bad character. I have this pet peeve about people who play characters with really high wisdom, and then they just blow everything up. But I know that's a lot of fun, so
Yeah, Tora is a wizard who specializes in magic that's like around air, lightning. She's an elementalist mage. She's the one that's married to Edgar Darkdraft, the bugbear cleric of the Red Lady, the goddess of tactics.
and Tora's easy to get along with. I don't want to say typical wizard, but she very studious with her magic.
Yeah, she wants knowledge and wisdom, and she comes from a culture that is very like alien to this world, so she has like a different belief system that she's slowly working on, that trying to like acclimate to this world. But she's dependable and fights for the team.
Right.
She she does get a little spell happy.
It's just one of those things. I think most wizards end up that way. I don't know.
Yeah, when you can cast like Flare and Doom, yeah, you become
If
a
I could
liability.
do that, I would be casting magic all the time. So
Right. Right. Oh, and that character's played by our friend Alicia. Oh, Jay. Jay is playing the character Sybil. Sybil is a gnomish cleric of the god of Forge and Flame, and he is
he
a little.
is righteous.
Yeah, he is a righteous gnome. He purges the unclean and burns the witches and burns the heretics. Like, he's a cleric that can basically cast fire wizard spells, and he just
He can cast any fire wizard spell.
Right.
As though it was a priest spell.
Yep.
Which is completely overpowered, by the way.
Right. But one thing, and I'll just say this now, and I'm sure we'll touch on it in a later video. Nothing's overpowered if you're creative enough as a DM.
Right. It's also, you don't have to have a balanced party.
No.
Because players should be filling different roles. If one character is extremely good in combat, he's likely not going to be extremely good in either social situations, or you could say the more like esoteric, dealing with traps and things. So.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, but Sybil's a battle brother. He chain smokes cigars. He's always fixing people's equipment. His big dream is to like build like the most. He's a smith, and he wants to build like the most powerful weapons and gear, and yeah, he's always willing to fight for the right cause. He's pretty zealot-like.
Very powerful. I mean, not to harp on it too much, but Sybil is his divine power is certainly strong. I mean, he's basically a walking laser beam most of the time. So.
Right.
Even more
Just
so
imagine,
than wizards a lot of time.
You have to imagine this like hairless gnome.
Yeah. He has massive hands. Don't forget about those massive hands. Yes,
because he was one of those original characters that fell in the Well of Creation, and the wild magic surge caused him to have massive human hands. So it's this gnome.
They're like I don't even know, like not an ogre-sized hands, but very large man-sized hands.
Yeah. So you get this gnome in plate, hairless, with man hands, constantly erupting into flames and burning all his enemies to death.
Burning the
Good stuff.
Nah, Sybil's cool.
Yep. Is that it? Or do we have? Oh, we have my brother Nick's girlfriend is playing.
Oh, Sierra. Yeah.
Yeah, Sierra, and she is playing a fighter wizard, correct?
Yeah, she's playing a fighter wizard. We don't know exactly. She hasn't actually played his character yet, so we'll have to see how her personality pans out.
Yeah.
But she's a savant with mathematics. Um, at least when we were talking about it, she's gonna be very like awkward socially, low charisma. Um, she's got a backstory full of bad stuff. She was a slave when she was a child. She hates red wizards if they.
Right.
But we'll have to see how it all plays out, because when you make a character, you don't really know what they're gonna be like until you've played at least a few sessions. So.
Right.
Yeah, but she's.
And so, yeah, and so I'm happy to have her there, and we'll see how well she does, and help guide her to make sure that she's invested in character and has fun. So that's our team. That's going to be, I think, going after. Well, I'll see how it plays out, but that's our team of players. But yeah, I'm super excited and stoked to be able to share this with people again. And this time we won't stop. We'll keep putting stuff up.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
No one ever watches it. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Now I'm gonna go back and watch it. So. And when I do it again, I'll have 2 views.
Woo!
Or you know, we'll get like a cent in the mail. I don't think they would send you that kind of money because it would cost too much. But...
Right. Here's your 2 pennies. Yay!
Nice.
Not worth the stamp. But yeah, and you and I think we have we talk about D&D so much and other stuff too that we hop online together a lot. We'll probably just keep putting some stuff out there, and
yeah, I'd love to do some more like directed videos about certain topics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you just happen to pass on this, the production quality is going to be low because we're just 2 brothers trying to run D&D.
Try and pretend that the year is currently 2009, and it'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
So
2009 is it's a better year than now. Live in the past. It's fine.
I just pretend that time is static, and then it never progresses.
Nope. Perpetually 2006 for me. It's never going to stop.
It's a good year. I mean,
and,
in some ways it wasn't. But...
And we'll get better.
See, that's how you hedge your bets. You say, "Oh, it was a good year, but it also wasn't," and then everyone agrees with you.
For sure. You can say, so I hope you see us on here. We're going to be putting this under the Brainless Thoughts as the Gauntlet campaign. Yeah. And we hope you join us, and hopefully we run a kind of D&D that you'll want to listen to, even if it's just for the story. So, rock on.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me see if this